To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning, I'm Michael Williams. Reports of anti-Semitism on the rise, and Palm Beach County atop that list, plus the Trump criminal trials. My guest this week, longtime Palm Beach County State Attorney and former Democratic state lawmaker, Dave Aronberg, who's not running again, been in office since 2012. We'll talk about that towards the end of this segment, but we appreciate you being with us, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Anti-Semitism on the rise in Florida. In Palm Beach County, the Palm Beach Post headline, Palm Beach County led Florida in reported anti-Semitism acts during 2023, according to the Anti-Defamation League. And in one part, they talk about, quoting from the article here, a rise in bomb threats against Jewish institutions and the distribution of literature to residential communities by extremist groups among the factors contributing to Palm Beach County's increase, said Sarah Emmons, the ADL's Florida Regional Director. Talk about that, your concerns, and what the law enforcement community as a whole can do about it and is doing about it.
Yeah, Michael, unfortunately, we've seen an explosion of anti-Semitism across the country. Palm Beach County is no different. It hurts me not just as a state attorney, but as a Jewish person. And we, I think, have been on the forefront of fighting this. You know, when those neo-Nazis descended upon our community, targeting our community because of its large Jewish population, we are the first office to prosecute these guys. And although the laws were weak at the time, and the most we could prosecute them for were things like resisting arrest without violence and littering, we were able to prosecute the leader of the neo-Nazis, this horrific individual who we prosecuted for dumping of litter, which is a crime, not just a fine. And we got a conviction, and he served 30 days in county jail. And that's a reason why you don't see these guys sending out their garbage literature as much anymore, because we actually put some handcuffs on them. Now we have some new laws in place.
Talk about that.
Yeah, the new laws make it a felony to send out the horrible literature, to put a swastika on a building without the owner's consent.
Yeah, throwing up a lighted swastika on a building, things like that. You cannot do that anymore without penalty of the law coming after you, correct?
Yeah, and we helped write the law, and Representative Caruso did a great job pushing it through the legislature, and now we have new tools. And I think that's one reason why you don't see it as much in our community, but look, they're gonna come back. We're not under any vision that we're out of the woods entirely yet, but we are ready for them because we have law enforcement, we have Sheriff Bradshaw, and a great number of our police chiefs who we work together with, who are ready to push back against hate, to show that hate is never welcome in Palm Beach County.
And to be clear, of course, you fight for free speech rights, and we all defend those, period, end of statement. But we are seeing protests on college campuses around the country. We've not seen that really evolve here yet. So if that kind of thing comes to South Florida, comes here, there's a matter of free speech, talk about that, but there's also a matter of saying, where's that line end and threats and violence begin? How do we inoculate ourselves, if any community can, against that, given all the temperature and sentiments around the Israeli-Hamas war?
Yeah, well, free speech is an important American value. The First Amendment protects peaceful protests. We've seen some peaceful protests in our community, and we recognize that, we respect that. But you notice what you don't see here, Michael? You don't see these folks lying down in the streets, blocking our airports and our roads, because we will drag them out and prosecute them if they do that. You know, you see this in other communities where they have a weak law enforcement response. Now, there is no right to block our roads. There's no right to get in someone's face and start harassing them and calling them names. At some point, it becomes disorderly conduct. It can become assault. And we'll prosecute when that happens. And I think that's one reason why we don't have the same issues that other communities have.
What I hear is vigilance, talking to your law enforcement colleagues, talking to people in your office, and keeping a close watch on supporting free speech rights, but making sure it is there and not diverting into ugliness and violence.
Well, it's a balance, and you have to also have good communication with the community to be able to be open to all different sides of this debate. But there is no right to harass people, to threaten people, to block traffic, and we will enforce the law.
Much to talk about this day. We want to talk about the Trump criminal cases. Before that, though, Governor DeSantis had signed legislation to authorize, or has signed, to authorize the release of Jeffrey Epstein grand jury documents. This case in Palm Beach County before your tenure, which began in 2012. For years, people said he, quote, got off light. Of course, he took his life after more ugly sexual predator allegations, and that entire story unfolded. He took his own life. But those grand jury documents, as it relates to the case here, preceding your tenure, will come out now. And those who have wanted that, and the governor himself said, nobody should be protected from facing justice due to their wealth or status. Those who harm children should be exposed and punished to the fullest extent of the law. And so those grand jury documents, we expect this summer that people read that and be able to see those and judge for themselves. Early on, you would oppose that on legal grounds, later supported it. As you look at the totality of all that, you're thinking about these coming out this summer, what it may or may not achieve, your thoughts, concerns, and support now for this.
Well, just to clear the record, this all happened years before I got to the state attorney's office, but also...
As I said, and that's an important point to reiterate.
But you said that I opposed it on legal grounds. The reason why I opposed it and was misconstrued by the local newspaper was because we've never had the documents. So the local newspaper here sued me to try to get the grand jury documents, and we told them repeatedly, we've never had the documents. You got to go to the court. You're suing the wrong person. So in that sense, yes, I oppose it because I've never had the documents, but I've never opposed the release of the documents to the public. I believe in transparency. In fact, we have put out into the public everything we've ever had on this case. We put it on our website.
Do you think the release of them will, I think closure is an overused term, but for victims, what do you think it might help accomplish? Certainly to transparency. As we look at the victims hurt so badly, what are your thoughts about that more broadly?
I don't know if they're going to get closure based on these documents. I haven't seen them, so I don't know what's in them. Sure. But I also want to give a shout out to our clerk of courts, Joe Abruzzo. He's the one who pioneered this legislation that allows these documents to finally be released. I think that the victims will always get imperfect justice at most because Jeffrey Epstein killed himself and he wasn't put on trial. There wasn't the accountability that we needed. Now, with Ghislaine Maxwell, she was found guilty, but it's really not the same as getting the guy who is true evil here in Jeffrey Epstein.
We'll see, and of course, a topic that we will continue to discuss throughout the summer, the expected, and I'm correct on that, we expect that there'll be a release this summer. Am I correct in my understanding on that time frame?
Yes, because the new law, I believe, allows it to be released sometime in July.
Exactly. Let's talk about the Trump criminal trials. Wall Street Journal talking about the totality of the trials, including the classified documents case here. And in talking about that, said in one article, and I'm quoting here from a Wall Street Journal editorial, one big election question is whether voters will fall again, quoting here, will again fall for Joe Biden's 2020 pitch, either or elect me because Republicans are a threat to democracy. If they don't, the editorial writer goes on to say, Democrats can blame the growing insanity of the Donald Trump prosecutions, which every day look less like fair or sober justice. This from a conservative writer, Kimberly Strassel, Wall Street Journal. First, react to that.
First off, state prosecutors do not prosecute cases at the behest of the White House. This is not Joe Biden telling Alvin Bragg in New York to prosecute a case. It doesn't work like that. Do you know if it did work like that, I would have been one of the first people they called because my jurisdiction includes Mar-a-Lago, where the former president lives. I can tell you, not only did I not get a call from the White House to prosecute the former president, I don't even get invited to the annual Hanukkah party at the White House. So there's no such communication. So as far as the federal cases, Merrick Garland has been timid. He's been slow walking the investigation. He had to turn it over finally to Jack Smith because Merrick Garland didn't want to be seen as political. Jack Smith is a professional prosecutor. He's not political. He just follows the evidence and the law.
Let me talk more broadly. The thing you'll typically hear as this debate and such polarization around it is A, no one's above the law. But B, those who support the former president say the law is being, quote, weaponized against him. They also argue that, look at the documents case that we see happening out of Mar-a-Lago. Joe Biden's not being prosecuted for classified documents he has. Example, they say, of unequal justice, justice that is not blind. And I know you hear that again and again and again. You're doing a lot of national commentary on the topic these days. Respond to those critiques and criticisms of the overarching nature of this debate.
The reason why Joe Biden and Mike Pence were not prosecuted for the same thing Donald Trump is being prosecuted for, it's not the possession of the documents that's important. It's the refusal to give them back. It's the obstruction. And that's what separates Donald Trump from Biden and Mike Pence. And so that to me, when they say, well, they all did the same thing, no, they didn't. And if you want to say that Merrick Garland is political, well,
sitting U.S. Attorney General.
Well, I think Hunter Biden will have a word with you, considering that he, through his special counsel, is prosecuting the president's son. So when you say, well, it's all a bunch of politics, Merrick Garland has proven over and over again by his appointments of his U.S. Attorney Special Counsel, when he appoints Republicans who used to be appointed by Donald Trump to go after Hunter Biden, to investigate Joe Biden, that he is the furthest thing from political.
Do you think the U.S. Supreme Court will fall on the side of absolute immunity for any act a president commits while in office, or some middle ground? They took arguments late last week. Your thoughts about that? The former president has been arguing, I deserve absolute immunity. Others are saying, no way. The court seems to be trying to thread the needle there. What does your instinct tell you, your legal instinct?
You can tell by the oral argument where they're going. There's not going to be absolute immunity, but they're going to give some immunity, it looks like, to some official acts of the president. But then how do you determine what's an official act versus a personal act, right? If a president receives bribes to give out ambassadorships, right, or pardons, isn't that a crime, or is that an official act? So they need to really be careful with their ruling, because you don't want anyone to be above the law. And no matter what, I do think it's going to delay the D.C. election interference case further. And
what about the classified documents case? Are we even going to see any of these other cases outside the hush money case this year?
We were never going to see the classified documents case before the election. Because Judge Aileen Cannon is inexperienced, and she is slow-walked this case.
Trump appointee.
You said it, not me, but yes, he has given a lot of deference to the defendant in front of her, who also is the one who appointed her. I'm not saying that's corrupt. I'm just saying she's given a lot of delays. That case was never going to be heard before the election. The only two cases that really had a chance to be heard before the election, Michael, the one in New York that's going now, and the one in D.C., which the Supreme Court, the conservative majority, has put a kibosh on, at least for now.
How much do you worry as we look at an election, unprecedented criminal trials, a former president on trial, other cases he faces, about the collision of politics and the legal system and the ability of this country to withstand that? Everybody talks about the threat to democracy. How worried are you when you sit and really think about all this, at this collision of all of this?
It depends on what happens in the election. Like, wherever you stand on policy, I just hope we can get back one day to debating tax policy instead of debating democracy, because really you do have a candidate for president who was involved with the January 6th attempt to overthrow the election, right? The fake elector scheme. He was an unindicted co-conspirator in Arizona in the recent indictments, and has said that he would be a dictator on day one, but people say, nah, don't listen to what he says. I just worry that in his next term, if he's elected, that the people around him will not be the guardrails we had in the first term. The Kellys, the others around him who were there to rein in his non-democratic impulses.
Very briefly, you have elected not to run again for state attorney. You've been our state attorney in Palm Beach County since 2012. Gubernatorial bid in your future, political future there? You can say it here first and to the point.
Do you see, Michael, that there are like a million more Republicans than Democrats now in Florida?
Yeah.
We are a red state. And
politics in your future, political office?
I don't know about that. I mean, look, everything, all good things must come to an end, and I love being state attorney. I've loved it, and I will still be involved in this community. I care too much about this community. And at some point, I may get involved in the race to replace me, because not all the candidates in this race believe in my values of public safety first.
That'll be our next edition of To The Point. We know that you've been a guest many times over the years. We'll look forward to having you back. But thanks for sharing your insights across a broad array of important issues to this community. Dave Aronberg, Palm Beach County State Attorney. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Michael.
Abortion politics front and center as President Biden came to Florida last week. The Roundtable and Brian Crowley next.